Hello, everybody. I am Wes Allen with DM Tales, and this is Skipping Lunch. I think it's episode 15, where I skip lunch to talk to some really cool people in the TTRPG space. And I am really pleased to have on today the two founders of Two Little Mice Games. And I'm going to bring everybody on screen right now. So this is Rico. Rico, I'm going to butcher your name. Sirignano. Am I
Yeah,
close?
that's
Okay.
right.
And
Yeah.
Simone Formicola. So gotcha. I am so excited to have you both on, and we do have the person who brought us together in the chat. So hi, Doug from Victory Condition Gamings, who cannot stop saying nice things about the gaming scene in Italy. So I'm really excited. We've been trying to get together, and there were you guys were all doing all the shows in Europe for a while, and then it was just kind of a blur around here. But we're finally able to get together, and I'm so thankful for you to make time on a busy evening for you because you're 6 hours ahead, and
Yeah.
to come in and chat. So I just got a couple questions, and then Rico and I were talking a little bit beforehand, so I have some different ways to steer the conversation. But this is kind of the one that I start everybody off with, and you've probably answered this question about 4 billion times in an interview. But for my viewers anyway, how did you both get into this very weird hobby of tabletop role playing games?
Well, as an hobby, of course, it started when I was, I believe, 13. And the first game, and it still is my first love, was Cyberpunk 2020.
No,
And
okay.
that was my go-to system for a lot of years. And I think it shaped a lot the designer that we would become.
Okay.
And yes, that's how I started. I had some, bigger friends, older friends that were playing that, and of course there was D&D, the third edition at that time.
Okay.
And yes, it was in the late 90s,
Okay.
early 2000, and that's at least for me how I started playing. How I started doing that. That's another story.
Gotcha. Simona, how about you?
Actually, I started out more as a LARPer.
Okay, you
Larger
the
role-playing
opposite
game.
direction. Okay.
Yes. I started very much from there, and then I started playing. Mainly, we used to where I used to live. We mainly played Pathfinder First Edition. For some reason, it was a huge hit at the
Okay.
time
Okay.
in my hometown. And then I stopped for some years, and I actually reconnect with the hobby as soon as I met with Rico when I was in my 20s.
Gotcha.
So yes, we started playing several role-playing games. He introduced me to Cyberpunk 2020. I never heard from the game before. I had a very, very small knowledge of the world, but yes. And then here we are some years later.
Now you make them. That's really cool. I mean, it's a very deep well when you start looking into the role-playing game. And Rico, you had mentioned that it was third edition and people were playing D&D. Is Wizards of the Coast like the 800-pound gorilla in Italy the way that it is here, or is there a much more diverse kind of field of gaming in Italy?
No, I think that at least when we started, there was there was Cyberpunk, there was D&D, there was Vampire.
In
Okay.
Italy, World of
Vampires.
Darkness has
the World of Darkness.
it still is very, very huge.
I don't even.
Because
What
it's
is World of
higher
Darkness? I am totally showing myself that I'm ignorant. Who puts that out? Great, I've stumped the people on the show.
No, White Wolf. It's basically vampire, werewolf. All that
Oh, gotcha. So it's the
masquerade.
the same idea. I have heard of it. Okay, I've never played Vampire.
Italy, sorry,
I've never played Vampire.
It's a classic here, and it's all about intrigue and political stuff. There's a lot of romance, and that's the kind of thing we Italians like more. We do not like very crunchy game. We do not like a lot of rules, of course.
Gotcha.
As we do not follow them anyway. But
We are very
you
good at
know,
not following the rules.
when
Yes.
and Italians, we always say that Italians play everything as you would play Vampire or World
Yes.
of Darkness.
Okay.
So even when they are playing D&D, like you have the king coming to you and saying you have to slay the dragon, and the people, the Italian are, why they want to slay them? Maybe the dragon is actually the good guy. Maybe the king is corrupt.
Yes.
Because that's how we are wired. Always don't trust anybody.
Don't trust
But
anyone.
it's hard to play D&D in Italy.
I love that. Caterina wanted to know what was going on with your camera, because you do look like you have a bloom on your face.
I think that's
Just the white balance or whatever it is. It was fun. You look like you look like you were being translated into like a digital realm for a second.
yeah.
It was kind of cool.
I think
I liked the effect. I don't know about. So you both played for a while. You both, and I learned this when we were prepping stuff beforehand. You have both do historical 14th century fencing.
Yes. Yes, we did.
exactly.
Okay, how did you get involved in that? I know, Rico, you said it's not common, but it is in like every city. But how did you both get involved in that?
How do we did get involved in that? I actually don't remember. Probably we met some guys working who were into that, and we just like we went to a free lesson just to show, because there was a gym near Rico's house.
Okay.
When we lived back then, we lived in Milan, both of us.
Okay.
And so we said, okay, let's check it out. And people were really cool, and we enjoyed it. And we ended up buying, swords and armor and stuff like that.
It was 14th century, so full plate armor and everything. And it was cool.
What's it like getting into the armor? Like when you get it on, are you just like a kid going, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go slay a dragon now"? Like what does that feel like?
I guess it's something. I may be childish, but it's something. There's something that will always be cool about handling a sword, wearing a suit of armor, and it's always very cool. And the armor is way easier to use than it looks. Of course, it's very heavy. It's very tiring.
Right.
After an hour with an armor on, you are going to be very tired, but you can't feel anything, and you are free to smash your sword against the other. It's very it's a very childish and cool stuff.
It's you basically have taken like what we all do with lightsabers and like taken it up to like 11. So that's really fun. Yes. It's really nice. That blew my mind. Just like, we do 14th century fencing. I was like, that is great.
How about you?
I have not done 14th century fencing. So
you should.
Maybe I'll come to Italy sometime and you can put me in armor and I can fall over.
Yeah.
That would be great.
I
do. So I have a couple comments in here. One of the persons pointed out that maybe your bloom was that you were turning into a vampire in honor of Vampire the Masquerade. That was King Eric, the greatest of all. He will probably pop up again in our feed. And I'm sorry I can't show you all the comments. But I'm not sure if this is a national insult or not. So I'm going to say it. And if it is, you can tell Eric that he needs to stop with this. But you have a great version of Jenga in Italy. The tower hasn't fallen over yet.
Yeah, but it's actually
it's going the other way, right? Yeah,
because Jenga, the tower falls because you remove the pieces. Our tower is falling because they kept adding the pieces. So it's
is it trying to straighten?
They are trying because that's not actually curved, but it's more like it's
it was built in the wrong spot.
Yes.
The ground is sinking.
So they are try to keep it stable at least. They are succeeding for now.
You've been succeeding for a very long time, so that's really good.
That's actually the longest Jenga.
The longest Jenga game ever.
That's
We have like bridges that would like open up, and there's a story of bridges they would put it over a chasm, and they didn't tune it to the resonance of the way the wind was going, and so it actually created a resonance with the bridge, and the bridge like fell down with I think it was like 2 weeks. Just like, well, that was money thrown down the drain. It's a very American concept. So other than fencing and playing games, you have both decided to create games. So like,
Yes.
what got you to the point where you were just like, you know what, we're going to try to do this?
As always, like it was basically, some random stuff, because we were actually we worked in television some year ago. I am a director, and I studied as cinematic director, and Simone is actually studied as to be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in one of the most important acting school in Italy, and we met doing actually some kind of a web series. It was kind of a passion project, a series about another Italian RPG, which was an urban fantasy RPG.
Okay.
Which is fun because we never played that RPG.
Gotcha.
But it was a very cool stuff, because it talked about character from the fairy tale world being brought us in our world.
Okay.
And being captured inside some weapon. So whoever holds the weapon become the character. So like Peter Pan is in a sword. If I touch the sword, I will become Peter Pan for the time being, as long as I'm holding the sword. So it was a fun concept, and for some reason we decided to make a web series out of it.
It's like it was like an actual play?
Yeah, it's we did the actual series with character transforming.
Oh, no way. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a legitimate.
It's like a show.
series.
Yeah, good. Oh, I love it. Okay.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime right now. Also in the United States, it's very bad. It was very cheap.
Very cheap.
But we met
Cheaper
doing
than
that.
anything.
I don't know, for some reason we were all out of school. We were trying new stuff. We wanted to do something. We did that.
Absolutely.
And to do that, we had to acquire the rights for this game. So we had to contact the owner, which was the Italian publisher Raven.
Okay.
And Raven was actually the publisher of Vampire. So we were kind of fans.
Okay.
And at a certain point, me and Simone just said, what if we do our RPG? Like we are both players. Why we don't we try?
Mm-hmm.
We went to Raven Distribution with an idea, and this idea was the first edition of Household.
Yes.
It's this very old book. It was our first RPG, and that same year, 2019, it was awarded Game of the Year in Italy, winning against Vampire.
No. Oh, that's
so
awesome.
It was rise and fall of Vampire. And so that's that. And then there was, the war almost ended in 2019, as you may have noticed, that was the end of the war. And so we were working in several, sets on, for television and stuff. Mm-hmm. And we were out of job. We were because of the pandemic and all that stuff. So like many people, we were without a job, and we decided to make another game that was on Kickstarter. That was Broken Compass.
Right.
And Broken Compass was very successful, and now we are still here.
That's awesome. It's a cool story. And you all have. That thing wants to fall over on you.
No, I'm trying to shield the
sun.
The light.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's nice. I just like it's like it's random encounters in the middle of the interview. It's great. So you all have these artistic backgrounds, and I've been reading the PDF for OutGunned, which we're going to talk about in a second, and I have just been able to crack open the Household box set that you gave me, which is gorgeous. And folks, that review will be coming up hopefully in the next month or so. But your layout and design is some of the most beautiful that I've ever seen. Like, how much of your background in theater and in television did you apply to this print book? Because it's a different medium, but there just seems to be an attention to detail there. Did that really help you out coming from those different artistic backgrounds?
I think what not really in the layout, we have to learn it.
Okay.
Because actually the first edition of Household was good. I think it's still a good book, but it was darker and there was a lot of stuff going on. It was noisy. It was very crowded.
Gotcha.
But I think what helped and still help us a lot is our background in theater.
Okay.
Because we always say when you're doing a play in a theater, the first thing that you do on the night, you try to look through the curtains and you try to see your audience. Who are you going to perform for? Because if they are very young or if they are very old, where are you going? They will understand your comedy or whatever.
Okay.
And you try to adjust as you go to the public, to the energy that you are receiving, because you have to translate every night the same story to a different audience. And you cannot talk, the same way to anybody. You have to understand who you are dealing with. And I think this has helped us a lot, because one thing that we always try to do with our game is to talk to an audience. And as you know, in OutGunned, we talk directly to an audience. In Household, it's very different. In Household, there's a whole meta plot going on in the actual book. But we try to apply that and we try to imagine who is this person who is holding this book, how is it going to feel towards the book, and that shapes the whole experience of the game, not only while you are playing, but also while you are buying the game, reading the game, holding the game. It's as you have Household. Household is a pretty heavy book,
It's a ton. It's huge.
It's very so. For example, the Household book, we decided to have the actual writing a little bit bigger than we usually do, because we thought this is very heavy. People are not going to hold it. They're going to have it on the table, so they want to be able to read it. So that's the kind of, I know it sounds silly, it sounds stupid stuff, but that's the kind of thought that is guiding us making the game, how they're going to experience it, and how can we make them easier for them to get involved.
Well, I think it's an amazing point, and I don't think it's confusing at all. There are a couple of folks I know that are in the channel that either create or they're thinking about creating games. That idea of having empathy for the person that's going to be reading the book, that's huge. But at the same time, you're making a game that appeals to you. So it's almost like you're designing it in dialogue with what you want and with what you're trying to present to other folks, like in a mental dialogue for that.
That's basically how art works. In every, you are doing something for yourself. You are doing something that, of course, belongs to you, that speaks to you. But the difference between, just imagining something and making art, which means giving it to something else. And by the way, we consider RPG arts, but that's our, point of view. Everyone, I know it's not.
It is art. Well, we're just going to say that here, and if anybody disagrees, I can kick them off the channel. It's definitely art. So everything about it is art, from the storytelling to the presentation of the artwork inside the book, to the layout and the design, to the presentation of the actual physical copy. It's all art.
And there's this work, which I think it's the art. It's the translation of a feeling to another person that it's going to live that feeling. And of course you cannot, as we always say, that when you take out something from the inside, it's going to be gooey, it's going to be full of blood and disgusting, because what you have inside, of course, it works for you, but it may not work for other. So the act of transforming it into arts is to translating it so that other, can see the story, can live the story. And of course, in writing RPG, this is extra important that, you convey the idea of the story, because they are going to live the story, not only to just receive the story as they would if they were watching a movie or something. They're going to be active, so you want them to be with you, feeling the same way that you feel about the product.
Yeah, playing an RPG is an artistic endeavor in and of itself. Really cool.
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead, Simone.
In a way, we treat an RPG book like we think about a screenplay, meaning it's a form of art who requires another, not just the author, but the actor and the director in the case of a screenplay, or the player in case of an RPG book. So the complete experience, you can only have it when you read and play. So you are an active part of this work of art in some way.
It's art making art. That's kind of cool. I like that. I do have a question, because for folks who don't know what Household is, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, both of you. Household it's an ancient or an old mansion, and there are a bunch of little creatures that go back to like European folklore. In America, it would be like the Littles. But every room is its own nation, and there's this tumultuous time going on in the mansion, that's why it appealed to me, because the Littles was like my favorite cartoon of all time growing up, other than the D&D cartoon. But someone wants to know what Broken Compass is like. Is that like a pirate theme game?
Broken Compass, it's basically it's Indiana Jones and the 1999 Mummy.
Gotcha.
Especially the Mummy in a book.
Yes, more or less the 1999 Mummies.
That's the best movie ever. But and also OutGunned has a lot of different. We call them seasons because it's shaped like a TV series.
Gotcha.
So you are playing in episodes, and one of the season is like, for example, this one, it's kind of steampunk and Jules Verne, all that kind of stuff. But there's also one that's called Jolly Roger, that is about piracy, and of course it's mostly about that kind of Pirates of the Caribbean stuff.
Yep.
Not very historical, but more like a romantic.
Pirates.
They all say "R" a lot. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. And then I have and I mentioned, because Doug's in the chat, and he actually said that Two Little Mice makes some of the best quality and beautiful RPG books in the hobby. So not just in Italy, but in the entire hobby. So thank you, Doug. But I actually point him out in here because he is constantly, and I say rave, but I mean it in a good way. Like, he's not ranting. He raves about Italy being the next big player in the tabletop role-playing game space. So besides you, who makes some of the most beautiful books in the hobby space, what other players are there in Italy, and how big is gaming as a hobby space in Italy? Like, why is it becoming the space where games are now being developed there and the world's kind of gobbling them up? Speak for your entire country. Have fun.
Yeah. Well, I think that there was a lot of LARPing in Italy.
Okay.
Live playing, because we had so much, monuments and castles and, that kind of historical stuff that makes you want to play live. Also, we had, especially in the smaller towns, we have a lot of medieval fairies,
Okay.
that kind of stuff. So it's a short jump from, your Renaissance fairy to LARPing D&D. But then there's also a lot of, actual pen and paper RPGs. I think that it kind of blew up somewhere around the pandemic, or 2008, or right before the pandemic.
Okay.
There was an explosion in that because people started playing online. And so there was, Italy is a very small country.
Yeah.
it's very hard that you will find an Italian buying an English book. So
Right.
we have to wait to have them translated.
Okay.
And it usually it used to take a lot of time. So we were kind of cut out from the international, community because we were behind.
Right.
Like I think we received the Tales from the Loop like 5 years after you guys. So it was already so something like that. But now that it's growing, I think that in fact I don't want to be too patriotic, but I think that we are making some really cool stuff, and mostly because we in Italy we like cool stuff, we like beautiful stuff, we pay a lot of attention to the exterior part, to the quality of the materials. And there's been some kind of a race trying to raise the bar and doing the coolest product.
Cool.
And for example, here I have, this is one of the most famous Italian RPG, which is called Memento Mori, Remember That You Have to Die.
Gotcha.
And it's all done like an ancient Bible. And this is one of the games that we like the most. This is a game from the 2017-18. And we actually now we brought the right for the game, and we are working with the creator to make a new edition for the international audience. So
awesome.
Next year I'm going to send you a copy of this so you can play it in English.
Yay.
And that's set in the 14th century, so it's one step towards fencing. You gotta start from somewhere. But it's really a growing market. We also work with I know that Doug loves them as well, with Acheron books.
Okay.
The guy did Brancalonia.
Okay.
Which is an Italian, they call that a spaghetti fantasy setting for Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
And we also work with them in with Inferno. We did a D&D supplement. We did all the the concept and the art and the writing for this a D&D setting to play in Dante's Inferno.
Oh, neat.
But it's a very philological work.
Yes.
It's not something very high fantasy, but it's something very historical. And
Yeah.
very stylish.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of course, there's Mana Project Studio in Italy, and they did Historia, which is that kind of Renaissance game with furry characters with anthropomorphic animal.
Okay.
In the Renaissance setting. I don't know if you see that. But there's mostly 5e in Italy.
Oh, really? 5e's kind of taken over there too.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right now they're all doing like their 5e conversion, 5e supplement, or whatever.
Gotcha.
But there's also a lot of original game, mostly I would say mostly small games.
Okay.
Like there's a good indie scenes, but now some of us are trying to bring our custom system and original system into the world.
And I think you're succeeding. So I know in the US, one of the nice things I like about the indie scene is that the indie publishers, they tend to collaborate and be very friendly towards one another. Is that a similar experience in Italy for you guys?
I think that we being such a small market in Italy, we are always there at the same convention. We all know each other, so I think that's a good. We used to work together. We are the same 10 people, so it's
okay.
It's a must that we. Of course, there is competition. Of course, everybody wants to be the first, the better, the biggest. But for example, we worked with Acheron on several products, and in English, I see that in the United States they don't understand our how can I say, our partnership with a competitor. Like you are two competitors, but you're also doing games together. But that's not something that we feel a lot here, because we are the same 10 guys.
I think in the indie scene it's a lot more friendly and collegial.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I had Kelsey Dione on here two weeks ago, and then Matt Finch beforehand, who kind of started the OSR, and she cited him as being one of the helps to getting Shadow Dark. I'm really kind of encouraging her with that, which is, it was such a neat thing to talk about. So I'm glad that that's part of your experience too.
Yeah.
So first off, I have a comment that might be the best comment that's ever been made on YouTube. And then I do have another question about Broken Compass. So Katerina pointed out that basically Dante started the trend of biblical historical fan fictions, and Italians never stopped. Which that is the best YouTube comment of all time, and I think I'm going to share it with some of my friends who teach it in college, and they might share it in their classes now.
And that's painfully true.
I love it. Perfect. But someone also did point out they went and looked up A Broken Compass on Amazon, and Two Little Mice is not the publisher. There is a story behind that. You did design it, but it's published by someone else, right?
We did design that, and we produced the game. So we
did also publish as well the first edition.
Okay.
Then the game and the IP was brought by Simone, that is the actual publisher of the game.
And so you they own that now, and you've done Two Little Mice and taken that out on your own independent again. So there was if people are confused about that, that's what's going on for that.
Yeah, we had a partnership for a year with Simone. We brought Broken Compass in this partnership. So they acquired the Broken Compass while we were working with them. And then after, I would say, a year working with Simone, we decided to go back to be an independent studio. And so they still own the right for Broken Compass. But for us, it was a closed experience, closed games. So we were pretty much done with it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's
7 expansions.
So let's talk about OutGunned, which is your latest game. Just went through Kickstarter. It's like an 80s action movie, which is brought to life. Someone in the chat said it feels a lot like Last Action Hero, which I think is spot on. Yeah. And I think you credit Last Action Hero inside some of the sidebars.
Yeah, of course.
So what? And I was talking to Rico beforehand, because he's born late 80s. What inspired you to use these tropes to create a game? Because you nail the 80s movies. Like, I'm looking, I could be Arnold now. That would be cool.
I don't know the rest of the world, but of course we were both born in the late 80s, so we were raised in the 90s. But on television in Italy, we do not have any choice. We could just see again and again 80s action movies all day long. I don't know the rest of the world, but in Italy that was the situation in the 90s. So it's a huge part of our cultural background.
Gotcha.
So I remember in discussion before the internet. I was 12. There wasn't internet in Italy, so about who was cooler than I don't know the name, but Schwarzenegger, Carter's in Commando, or Rambo, Sylvester Stallone. It was an infinite discussion between friends about that. So we were very, very into this.
Those are the conversations we got fights into over the playground, out on the playground. Very much so. Rico, you were going to say something?
No, I was. It's fun because Simone basically gave you the same answer.
It really did, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And it's always remind me, there was one episode in How I Met Your Mother. I don't know if you ever watched the series How I Met Your Mother. When they say that in Canada, the 90s only arrived in the first 2000, and that's basically how I feel about Italy. I think that we got the 80s in the 90s.
There you go. Yeah, let's go to the mall when you find out that it was Robin Sparkles. Exactly. Yeah, I love that show. Really good. So it's such a unique game, and I was talking to Rico a little bit. I know that you adapt your core dice mechanic for the game, but you use a ton of gambling metaphors. And I was describing as the way you roll dice, it feels like you're pulling the handle on a slot machine.
Yeah.
And this is something, and someone did ask Rico in the chat, how did you come up with this mechanic? Because this is a really cool story.
That's always my favorite story. Because at the time we were living here in this house, both me and Simone. and we were, trying to, waste our time while I think we were writing a screenplay or something.
Yes.
That's why we were living together to write something. And while we were doing that, we were trying to come up with a dice mechanic for a game. And by the way, that's something very silly. You shouldn't come out with a mechanic afterwards. You should build it into the game. That's why we did the second edition of Household, that we changed basically everything.
Okay.
But we were trying something, and I think that we at some point we nailed something, and then Simone, it was really late. It was like 9 or 10 p.m. and we hadn't eaten. And Simone was running the numbers. Simone is the number guys doing all the equation. And at a certain point, that was just one bug in the system. There was just one mistake, and we couldn't use that system because it didn't scale up the way that we wanted.
Gotcha.
So we were very, we spent all the week working on that system, and we were very, disappointed. And so we decided, let's start cooking something, because spaghetti is the answer to basically anything in Italy, as Doug knows well. So Simone was cooking something, and I was on the kitchen table rolling some dice. And I have some D6s, which I ate. I ate D6s. I wanted a game with the, with the D10s or D12s, that kind of stuff that rolls.
Uh-huh.
But, I was rolling these D6s from, those dice from the Warhammer game, where you have like tons of them. So I had a lot on my hands. I was rolling them, and I saw that I made a couple, just 2 trees. And I say, oh, I made a couple. A pair. Yeah. And I re-rolled the dice that outside of the pair, and I turned to Simone and I say, now that's a 3 of a kind. And I was very, I guess I was tired, and I was very happy of this gambling system. And of course, it's something, there's something very childish about gambling, that, you are always hoping for more, and you get greedy with your dice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I re-rolled the 3rd time, and I didn't improve my roll. So I was like, no, I lost it all. But it was something very, very childish to do.
Okay.
And Simone just stopped what he was doing, and he went to the table, and he was like, what are you doing? I'm rolling D6s looking for couples. This works. He was like, you got something here. And it took like 2 days to Simone to convince me, and we end up eating, peanut and drinking beer all night and working on the system. And it took him 2 days to prove me that the system was good, because I wasn't sure of what we were doing. But at the end, it works.
It worked. It works really cool. Yeah, and it scales so beautifully, because you're just trying to get pairs.
It's just, I think that when we present the game to people, when we roll the dice and we say, and you are not looking for high number, you're not looking for low number, you're looking for couples, for 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind.
Yep.
Their eyes they start to shine. And I think people that gets really happy, rolling tons of dice and re-rolling tons of dice, and that there's something very, I would say childish about that. There's something very, silly.
Give me the clickety clacks, right? Let me throw them on the ground. Yeah. Yep.
And I think it works very well on OutGunned, when you are playing, fast-paced action, and you are always looking for more. You are the hero. You don't want to hit your enemy. You want to one-shot the enemy. You
right.
want more. You get greedy. You want to roll the dice. So it's fun.
It's really well, and it's so cool to read a system and come to the mechanics and instantly go, oh yeah, this will fly, like this will just move, and that's really cool. The only other game that I've read that I didn't need to convince myself that it would be fast to the system would be Easy D6, and that's because there's almost no math. Yeah. But this is really cool, and for folks who, let me see if I've spent 15 minutes reading the mechanics, but. So the way it works, folks, is you're looking for pairs. That's your basic success, and then it kind of escalates from there. So if you try to do something really difficult, And you said most of the hero actions should be critical successes, which means you need 3 of a kind. And then you go up like to the impossible, where you need like every more of a kind that you get ups the level of success that you get. But depending on the number of dice you roll, you can get other successes. So you can like roll a critical success and a basic success, and that gives you a little bit of a benefit. And it's kind of a fun thing. But the coolest thing of all, go ahead. You go ahead.
No, the cool thing about the system for us is that this the only system that I know of, but that gives you not only different successes, more than one successes, but different degrees of successes in the same role.
Yeah.
So I get 1 basic action, 1 critical action, 1 extreme action, and because what we found in some systems that at some point you need 2 successes, you have like 12, you don't know what to do with them, it's just better. But what we did, we transformed different, a 2 of a kind is what we call the basic success. It will allow you to perform a quick action. So with all the basic success that you have, additional basic success, you can grab something, throw something, use something, reload your gun, and you can, basically you are buying screen time for your character. What you're doing. You have more time, more action.
I love that metaphor. It's really cool. And so someone in the chat pointed out, and here's the funny thing about it, because this is how I encountered Two Little Mice for the first time. King Eric, the greatest of all, said, "Can I yell Yahtzee when I get a good roll?" Yeah. So trademark issues aside, you can do that at your home game. And Victory Condition Gaming said you sure can. Well, this is funny because it was in my live stream interview with Doug that someone said, "Is there any game that uses Yahtzee?" And he went, "Oh, let me tell you about Two Little Mice games." That was literally the first time I heard about you, was someone talking about Yahtzee.
I'm sure that Doug paid someone to write that comment.
Yes.
No, King Eric's also the guy that talked about the Jenga, the Jenga thing. He's just known for these types of comments. Yes, very much so. But here's the coolest thing about your system. If someone rolls 6 of a kind, they get a jackpot. So the gambling metaphor's there. And tell everybody what happens when they roll 6 of a kind. What do they get to do?
Basically, when you roll more than an impossible success, there's more, the player became the narrator for the scene. The player stops being just the player of a character and tell everybody how the rest of the scene goes. And he decided how his character probably beautifully resolved the scene in any way he wants, because he's the boss now. So they get to do what they want.
It's like full Last Action Hero. It's like full on leaning right into that. So here's my question for you. Do you have any cool stories of when someone rolled a jackpot when you were playtesting the game or playing with some of your friends? Like, what are some of the cool things people have seen?
I have one from a playtest actually last week. That was a 7 of a kind.
Okay.
Which is something that I personally have never seen.
Okay.
Because there is, to do a 6 of a kind with 7 dice, I think. We are talking about less than 1%. We are in the 0 point something.
0.01%.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's really hard, of course. And in this particular scenario, of course, it was. It's difficult to believe, but it was the classic situation where I had prepared a huge fight with an almost impossible enemy. I wanted the player to lose. I really wanted to stress them because they were getting too cocky. So I wanted to punish them a little, as a good GM does sometimes. And I prepared this, amazing fight. They had assault rifles and tactical suits, suits of armor. Everything was going on in the scene in some kind of historical palace, in this historical location.
Okay.
And one of the character, of course, it was the fighter of the group, so the martial artist of the group, rolled the 7 of a kind on the very first roll. So it was the fight just started, 7 of a kind.
It's
So
like almost technically impossible.
yeah, and of course it's so it was so it's such a disappointing moment for me because I have like everything ready, and um, and I think that's what made it extra. I'm using for the players. So basically, but the way the player handled it was that basically she took a serving plate and use it as a boomerang, as a chakram. I don't know. He wrote it to try and cut a chandelier to make it fall on the guards. And basically, what the chandelier did was it fell on one of the columns. It was a very huge chandelier in the center of the ballroom. It fell into a column, and all the columns started, falling down, destroying everything. So she destroyed the whole location. Um, but yes, that's.
So basically, the advertising campaign should be: do you want the potential to ruin your GM's day?
Yeah.
Play
Yeah.
Outgunned.
Yes.
It was very disappointing. I cannot stress enough because she doesn't even have a gun. She was just barehandedly destroyed like this SWAT team of goons. But
So, I mean, you are used to playing. I mean, you're used to being in creative spheres. So you're TV and acting and what. Have you played with like so-called, normal folks and gotten them to a jackpot? Do they glitch when they can do anything, or do they really lean into the fiction?
So I don't know, Simone. For me, they always panic when they get.
Yes.
It's too much.
The first reaction is panic because they don't expect all this power.
Okay.
And I don't. You can do anything. Yes, you can, anything you want. The scene is yours. Please tell me what
just sit back like this, and we're good. You
yes,
take me.
Yeah, and you have to.
For me, it's the greatest moment, and it happens not very often. I think I mastered hundreds, maybe hundreds of shots in all our systems, and I think I seen not more than 10 jackpots in the last 2 years. So it's very rare.
It is a very special thing.
Every time it's special, yes. Because
but you have to encourage them to describe the stuff. You have to be like, yes. They are going to be like, okay, then I killed the enemy. No, tell me how you killed the enemy.
Yes.
I shoot. Okay, you shoot at him, and then why? What up? You have to keep, try to engage them until they feel comfortable enough, to take the spotlight, because it's. It's hard sometimes to.
Yeah, and people aren't used to it, and a lot of folks who can't kind of see the story in their head. But it's a neat learning experience.
It's also hard for the GM because in OutGunned there is a no fail rule, so players cannot fail a roll.
Right.
I don't know if you got there yet, but you cannot fail. So like everything you try to do, you will do this, but
yes,
there's going to be consequences. But so it's one GM actually told me, I don't know how to make the player do what they are supposed to do if they cannot fail, because he said to me, failure, it's the way I give them the story. I make the story happen.
Okay.
And I was like, don't do that. Let the guys play.
It's very much like a Powered by the Apocalypse concept.
Yeah, I think that basically we took this fail forward mechanic that you would find in Powered by the Apocalypse, and we try to take it to the extreme consequences that you are a hero. Now, if we analyze the word hero, what a hero is, it's something that has the exact skill for the situation he is in. That's what an hero is in the narrative, So, for example, if you watch a movie with Captain America, but Captain America,
he's not dying.
He will resolve everything with a shield, and you are going to think, if only I had a shield, all my problem will be solved, because it seems like it's the solution to everything. But if you are watching a movie about Spider-Man, that's of course shooting webs
Pew,
is the solution to everything.
Yep.
And that's because the problem are made to be solved by them. That's because the story is about them.
It's almost like they were written that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Concept.
And that's what we do. We want to do in OutGunned. You try to smash the door. You are going to succeed because you are an hero. That door is made for you to smash it.
It's a neat setup because you use so much of the new movie language in the game. There is even the concept of a spotlight in the game, right? So how does that work for folks that would be interested in this?
Basically, the spotlight is like an in-game resources that the player can spend to have their character take the spotlight and do a scene. In-game, it means more or less you can gain an extreme success whenever you like, or you can perform an impossible action, like you can save the life of someone who would die, and you have to describe how, of course.
Okay.
You can do all this movie type stuff by, okay, now it's my time, this is my scene, I cannot fail, and so I decide not to roll dice and not to do anything. I use my spotlight, so the scene is on me, I am the protagonist of this scene, and I will do this action.
So they're not quite the director, but they're definitely ready for their close-up.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
It's something they do. One thing that we kept in mind designing OutGunned, it's not important if you fail sometimes, if you don't do things the way the cool things that you want to do, but it's important that you do the things that are important to you for your character development.
Okay.
So like saving someone is something that you can do by spending a spotlight, because that's something that might be anticlimactic for you. She's the love of my life, I can save her. That's something that might be not the right moment for that.
Okay.
And that's why you have this kind of resource to, say, I want to do this. I want the story to go that way. So that's how the spotlight works. And it's what we call a circular mechanic, because how you obtain the spotlight is by following your catchphrase.
And that's right. Every player gets a catchphrase.
Yeah. Every player, basically, you don't have a background, but you have a catchphrase and a fatal flow, a flow. So when you bring your flow into the game and you have a disadvantage, like for example, a hero with glasses can say that after a failure he loses his glasses,
right?
And now he can see very well. You have to look for it, and the fact that he's bringing up make him gain the spotlight.
Okay.
And then he can spend the spotlight. Or for example, when you use your catchphrase, like our agent, one of the pre-made character, has this iconic catchphrase that is, with all due respect, sir, the hell with the rules. So it's kind of, the rogue cop. And every time it just, he's a very, he's the cop, he's the agent in our story.
Yeah.
So but every time he goes against the rules for the higher good, he gets the spotlight, because that's what we want him to do. So,
okay,
they play their part and they get a resource that helps them play their part.
I mean, anybody from my generation would hear that and be like, wait, I can walk around saying if it bleeds, we can kill it. I'm totally in. Let's go. Like that's just awesome. Has anybody used I'll be back yet?
We use it all the time.
It's like, how can you not? I'll be back.
At the end of every post we made on the Kickstarter page,
no,
we'll be back to LM. And it's an all-time favorite, of course.
That's just, I mean, it's a highlight.
There is, I don't know if you had the chance to take a look at the Action Flicks book.
Not yet.
Action Flicks is basically it's our Netflix for OutGunned. So it's basically you have all these little hacks to play like with in Star Wars like stories, or with against evil aliens or with magic. Like we have this additional set of rules.
Yep.
Yes.
And one of them that it's called Killing Aliens. It's about fighting against these huge aliens which are almost impossible to defeat.
Gotcha.
And the first chapter is called If It Bleeds.
We can kill it.
So it's and we have I think we have in the chat there is also our translator Katerina, and of course we have to thanks her a lot for keeping up for everything
Yes.
with everything, because there is a huge work in translating this kind of books and make sure that all the quotes, because they are very different.
Yes.
From here in Italy, and it was a really difficult job, I think, to convey everything, to make sure that everything is understandable.
Yeah, and you wrote, we talked before, and you had wrote the system itself in English.
Yeah.
Wrote the book in Italian, and then it's been translated to English. What other languages has it been translated into, or is it going to be translated into, or is it just English at this point?
Just English.
Just English at this point.
Because the stupid Americans can't speak any other language. I'm one of them. I'm allowed to say that.
No, but usually I would agree. But in this time, it's stupid Italian that cannot speak English, because OutGunned it's much better in English, because of course for its own nature, it's and the English, it's such a direct language, and it's so easy to convey direct information. So
interesting. Okay.
It might not be as good for poetry as Italian.
It's terrible for poetry. So, but just
because everything rhymes in English, I don't know. It's cheating. It's basically.
And if it doesn't rhyme, we will make it rhyme.
You can make any words and then get any words, any sounds you want.
We just put like an at at the end of it, and everything rhymes. Then it's okay.
Okay.
It's all okay.
That's actually a cool story about, because in Household there is actual poetry, in rhymes. Poetries in especially in the guide, I think.
Okay.
So Katerina had to translate different, songs and ballads and poetry in English. And at a certain point, we were looking through something, and I said, "But this doesn't rhyme." And she was like, "It depends on how you read it."
Yep.
And I was like, "Well, it shouldn't depend on how I read it."
Nope. I was telling you before, we have a Brazilian, because my day job, Simone, is a Baptist pastor. So we have a Brazilian congregation that speaks Brazilian Portuguese here. And I was trying to explain to him when he first arrived the Philadelphia dialect. And his brain was like looking at me, it's like, what is wrong with you people? Because we have there's a word, CREE, small stream, is a creek, right? Well, that's 90% of the country. In Philadelphia, it's a crick. Why? Nobody knows. It just is. It's you don't go up on the roof, you go up to the roof. It's like just little things like this. So he's like, I have spent all this time trying to learn English, and you're telling me none of it works, right? It's like, well, I mean, we'll understand you. You just don't have a clue what we're saying. It's fine. But that's the thing. But Katerina, who's in the chat and just pointed out, you quoted Promessi Spazi this season, smacked my head. So I don't think she was happy about that.
Nice.
But Katerina has done such a brilliant job with OutGunned, because you take those moments to do these little idiomatic statements directly to the reader. And if you did not know it was translated from another language, there's no way you would figure it out. Because usually you can tell. There's a little glitch here and there. But Katerina had done this brilliant job with OutGunned. It is one of the most easy reading books that I've picked up in a long time. So really well done. So
we're very proud of what Katerina is doing, and it's such, it's really hard, because basically what we are doing is like, I'm trying to write as I think it should sound, in English when I'm writing in Italian.
So you're thinking in the two languages, okay?
Yeah, I'm always trying to, don't put too much commas, try to keep all the sentences as short as possible, because we have a very different way to build our sentences.
Yep.
And also Katerina has an added difficulties, because we basically write our books directly on the layout.
You're the second person I've interviewed who does that.
Okay.
Because Kelsey Dion does the same thing for Shadow Dark.
It's the only way that you can have the arts and the layout and the writing. I don't know how people does it differently.
It's the exact same thing she said.
It's mind blowing how people can just write something, and then in OutGunned you will never have to turn a page to finish a sentence.
It is brilliant. It's really well done.
But this is you have to consider that Italian is like 20%, more longer than English.
Right.
So Caterina not only has to translate and to keep, but she also has to keep the same amount of letters in the page, so that everything can fit. So she's doing a tremendous job. And of course, also thank you to John Maron, who is doing the revision, for the English text.
Yeah, it's really well done. So thank you so much for sharing it with the rest of the world, because it's really cool. I can't wait to finish it and talk about it, and hopefully bring it to the table one time and just let people go utterly bonkers.
Now that Doug is here, we have to play with Vest. We have to play with John Maron as well.
Oh, that would be so much fun.
An OutGunned. Doug has his own OutGunned character.
No, wait a minute.
He's
share with this.
Yes,
share with this with me. I'm about to see him down at PAX U, so.
Because I don't know if you know, but we decided to overdress for the Ennies Award ceremony.
Okay.
This year in Indianapolis.
Okay.
And so we were all like tuxedos and stuff. And Doug decided to wear a red suit. It was all red jacket, red
red glasses
and glasses and tie and everything. And it was, I think that Red Doug, which is my favorite dog, by the way, Red Doug was such an iconic character that we decided to put it in Words of Killer, the book, the next book. It's going to be out before Christmas.
Okay, what trope does Red Doug use? Like, what kind of character is he?
I am still unsure, because we still have to make his character sheet.
Okay.
But there is one trope which I think is going to be, which is an original trope for Word of Killer, which is called the Magnificent Bastard. And the Magnificent Bastard.
Because I can't remember it, but I think it is.
I think it sounds like that. It sounds like that.
Oh,
and
my
it's
gosh.
Basically, it's someone that doesn't always do the right thing, but you cannot you can't hate, you must love.
Yes.
Nonetheless. So kind of thing.
So when I walk up to the Free League booth this on Friday and say hello to Doug, I just have to say, Doug, you magnificent bastard. That'd be really good.
Yeah, it works. I mean, I think it can catch up. It's something
really cool.
We should make like Magic the Gathering card. Doug, Magnificent Bastard.
Yes, legendary.
Doug is very happy with Red Doug, by the way. I'm watching him in the comments.
Red Doug,
the heel. He wants to be the heel. That's what he said. He said I'm the heel. That would be good too.
We'll see.
That's amazing. We are right at about an hour. So let's talk OutGunned. The digital edition should be ready to go by when?
The digital edition of OutGunned is already on sale.
Okay.
On Drive-Thru.
Okay.
On our page on Drive-Thru RPG. While the physical version of the game should be on sale in second quarter next year.
Cool. And it is basically the same size as like Scum and Villainy if you're looking at the book. Like that size. Yeah, more like that size. So it's not a big, huge book, but it's a gorgeous.
No, it's 15 centimeters wide and 21. 23, I don't remember. So it's, yes.
Gotcha. You use sane measurements. I'm trying to figure out what that is in inches. It's like 3/16
I don't know.
whatever it
No,
is. So,
I don't know.
that's
no,
one thing I cannot wrap my head around.
Oh,
It's
no,
too much for me.
when I was in first and second grade, they were teaching us the metric system because the U.S. was starting to convert over, and then people started doing things like shouting or like shooting at speed limit signs that had metric on it. We're like, okay, well that makes sense, which kind of explains a little bit why the U.S. went the way it did, which is fine. And Doug just pointed out, if I walk up to him and say, "Doug, you magnificent bastard," you might not be the only one who says that. So you are Red Doug, Doug. It's good. It's good. And what will the physical book cost when it finally goes on sale, and how will people be able to get it? I assume it's going to go to Kickstarter backers first, but when it goes to general release, where are they going to be able to pick it up?
There's actually 4 books, 3 books and a half. One book is going to be Outgunned, Red Spine, and that's everything you need to play, the rules and stuff. There's also a second book, which is World of Killers, and World of Killers will take you in a setting that is similar to John Wick.
Okay.
So you're playing as a good killer. And
that's a strange phrase.
Yeah.
You're a good killer. Oh, okay.
Yeah, good. You're one of them. Yeah.
Not bad.
Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead, Rico.
Yeah. And there's basically setting, new mechanics, and new roles and new tropes for your character.
Okay.
And among them, there is my favorite trope for a killer, which is the Saint. So it's so you are playing as either a priest or someone who's very, and I think it's one of my favorite tropes yet. And there's also a pre-made campaign that you can
neat.
play. And the third book is the Action Flicks we were talking about. And Action Flicks is 10 what we call flicks. So there are 10, 20 pages arc that will bring magic to your game, that will bring, cyberpunk stuff to your game, or, aliens, ghost. There is one about the ghost hunters.
Nice.
The wuxia martial arts.
Wuxia, yeah.
Oh, so
martial
cool.
arts. And then the fourth book is a mini book, actually, what we call the Mission Dossier.
Okay.
Which is basically a mini campaign, an introductory campaign.
Cool.
That you can play with the free quick start rules. You don't even need the whole book to play it.
Oh, neat. Okay.
And it's, just plug and play. It's very small, 3 shots. You can play, you can understand the game as you play.
Oh, that's so cool. And are you going to be selling it as a box set as well, or is it going to be individual purchases?
I think that's going to be just individual purchases.
Okay.
Different from Household, and it's going to be available at some point after March on our website and of course in retail, and we are surely going to bring it to Gen Con next year.
I'm looking forward to that. I hope I can meet you guys in person at some point. So PAX U is kind of my thing because it's like literally down the street from me. It takes me like 15 minutes to get there by train. But I do.
I have to understand if we can manage to bring the Household weapons.
I don't think they'll let you take that into the floor for some strange reason.
But I was thinking.
Have you been holding on to that just to show it off the entire interview?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you can can I take a scissor on my plane? Just one scissor.
They're a little uptight about that for some reason.
Yeah.
I
think that's that's foam.
It is foam. It's not real. It looks real.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very well done.
That's actually really
that's the cool part of knowing a lot of people from the cinematic industry. It's that they're going to make
the props for you.
I don't know if you can see
that's out of frame on here, so I'll look at it on the
There's a huge key.
Oh, really?
Key rifle.
Oh, sweet! I can't wait to read that book. And then what's the cost going to be for the core rule book if people want to buy in?
It's gonna be $45 if I remember correctly.
That's not bad at all. Really, really nice. And I got to ask you this because it's my pet peeve. You doing flat paper or glossy paper?
No, never glossy paper.
Thank you so much. Oh, thank you.
All our book, we are suckers for the soft touch cover.
Yeah.
All our book will have this soft touch cover as household.
Okay.
And we will go with matte, pages. We don't do.
I think my old eyes thank you, because I take a glossy page outside. I'm like, I can't read, like I'm reading it upside down. It's very strange. I got to thank King Eric, the greatest of all. You sent me a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much. That really helps me, and especially since I'm going to PAX U this week and I can go buy some more stuff, which is always nice. And do you have anything else you want to say or cover that we didn't cover? But we're right at about an hour.
Yeah, I think we'd say too much already.
You did not say too much. I had so much fun. And even like before Rico beforehand, talking about the fencing and all the cool stuff about you. They sent me 2 promo images, and my initial response was, I am not cool enough to be on a chat with these folks. Because you were in your tuxes, and I found out it was at the wedding. But really cool stuff.
I promised you to dress down for this interview, so I did.
We're in our normal casual, which is great.
Yeah.
But please stay on the line for a second. I'm just going to cut to myself to close out and to tell folks what's coming up. But stay on the line so I can thank you properly when we get offline. But thank you so much, and I'll be right back with you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
All right, folks, I had an absolute blast talking to these folks. They are amazing. Two Little Mice does some really cool games, and I'm just 65 pages into Outgunned at this point. It is brilliant. It's really a cool game. And for anybody who grew up watching 80s movies, you have to get this game. I think it's mandatory. But thank you so much. And coming up on the channel, I have just a little over halfway done Candela Obscura. That is going to be my next full review. I have Adventurous. You can just see it over my shoulder over here. Is another game that I'll be starting to read after that. I will get to Household as well. I got Dark Places and Demigorgons for Old School Essentials. My queue is a little long. And then I'm also going to be doing some material from PAX U. So if you're interested in what goes on there, I'll be walking around talking to some folks and hopefully getting some short interviews with people. I know I want to talk to Monty Cook Games, and then Free League, of course. Hi, Doug. Will be in there, and I'll be bopping around and getting some stuff up from that as well. It's going to be really busy. There is so much going on, so many cool stuff, and I am really excited to talk about the actual play show I'm going to be on after Christmas, doing a new system called Sagas, which seems really interesting for that. But that's what I've got going on. If you want to share in the comments as I close out what you've got going on in the next couple of weeks or days with your gaming, that would be great. And until we see each other again, folks, happy playing, everyone. Talk to you soon.